Adventurers and artists, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to share with you the story of the hidden piano masters that I found. So a couple of videos back, I talked about the importance of finding a piano teacher or a mentor to help guide you along the journey. In today's world, it is absolutely possible to learn an instrument online, but I think if we wish to take our playing to that next level, I think it's really good to find a teacher or a mentor to help guide us along. So I recognized this quite early on, especially since I started to walk down the path of jazz music. And I chose jazz because it seemed to offer this freedom of expression that really appealed to me. I really wanted to just sit at the keyboard and just play music. I started by learning the chords, the chord extensions. Of course, you've got your 7, 9, 11, 13, and playing those in all the different inversions and in all the different keys, That's how I kind of got started, being able to express myself in that free way. But I realized at a certain point I needed to find a teacher because I had no idea how to approach the world of jazz, and it really is a vast field of music. So I needed to find a teacher. So I had just moved back to Dunedin. I got a job in a nice little cafe in town called Market Kitchen. And I was working there as a full-time job, and my music was very slow at that point. I was looking for a jazz piano teacher, but I couldn't find one. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know who to ask. Meanwhile, every Thursday lunchtime, this lovely elderly couple would come in. And they were really old. The lady, she was very, very elderly, very frail, and it was really cute. Like, he would wheel her in on the little trolley, and they would sit down and they would order soup every Thursday without fail. Anyway, one day, my boss says to me, "Josh, do you know who that guy is?" And I said, "Well, you sure? He's the lovely old man who comes to get soup on a Thursday." But she said, no, he's the Dunedin jazz guy. So I went up to this gentleman and I said, "Sir, my boss tells me that you're a jazz player. What instrument do you play?" I asked him. He did this. He literally just tugged. Talk about the epitome of cool. He just tugged his scarf, and his scarf had the keyboard on it, And that's when my mind was blown. All this time, I was searching for a jazz piano master to teach me, and he was under my very nose all this time. He was no longer this friendly old man sitting at the cafe ordering soup on a Thursday. He was a jazz master. He was the man I was looking for. So I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you do lessons? I'm wanting to improve in my jazz playing. Is it possible that you can teach me?" And he gave me his card. In fact, let me grab it. Yeah, it's in this wallet. Here it is. So he gave me his card. His name was Calder Prescott, and really he was the loveliest man. He was interested to teach me. But I was actually already planning this big trip to Queenstown, another place in New Zealand, where I was going to do a whole summer of busking. And so I took his card and I said, "I'm going to contact you when I return to Dunedin after the summer, and I'm really keen to get lessons from you." I went off on my merry way busking in Queenstown, and I was really excited to come back to Dunedin, contact Calder Prescott, and get some serious jazz piano lessons. However, one day in the summer, I decided to search his name on Google because I wanted to hear some of his music. But unfortunately, Google autocorrected death after his name. And so I found out quite by accident that Calder Prescott had passed away that summer. And so he's the jazz piano master that I never got to know. I only ever knew him as this lovely old man who ordered soup on a Thursday with his lovely wife. So that's how that story ended, unfortunately. And rest in peace, Calder Prescott. I can only trust that he was one of Dunedin's legendary jazz pianists. So Calder Prescott was the first piano master that I found. Now, the second piano master that I found wasn't in Dunedin. It was in a place called Nelson. So this here is a depiction of Nelson, and I moved here over the summer because I was seeking adventure, and Nelson offers, it's like a gateway to all these other different places in New Zealand that I hadn't explored yet. So I didn't really care about busking or playing music or practicing music. Obviously I did, I still practice my instrument, but I didn't really go there for the purpose of improving my instrument or my music. Anyway, when I arrived in Nelson, I managed to score a job in this place here, the Boat Shed Cafe. And this is one of the premium fine dining restaurants in Nelson. And it's got this lovely deck outside, which is the most sought after section in the whole restaurant. Everyone wants to dine on the deck. And I was fortunate enough to be the waiter who served on the deck most nights that I was working at the Boat Shed. One night, I arrive at work and my boss says to me, "Tonight in your section, you've got a couple who just got married today and we're gonna treat them." And so I was excited, So it was my privilege to serve this couple, and we did treat them. We served them champagne, we gave them some extra bites. We like to do that kind of thing to make the experience really memorable. Later on in the evening, I got talking about, my interests and what I do, and of course I talk about music because that's one of the main things I'm into these days. And of course, what does this man say? He says, "Well, I'm a piano player too." And he was very humble about it. But his partner was saying to me that he's one of the best pianists out of Chicago. And for the rest of the evening, I felt bad for the rest of my tables, man, because I was talking to this guy. His name was Jason. And he was actually a really lovely guy. And this explains it. He ordered the most expensive bottle of red wine, and he left like a little bit of the wine at the bottom just for me to try it. He said, "Take this out back and you've got to try this wine." Anyway, so that was that. And I saw them actually a couple more times after that. I saw them in the restaurant, and I recognized that this man was an opportunity to learn some wisdom about the piano and get some advice, get some tips. And the first tip he actually gave me at the restaurant was, he said, "Go and learn Bach." He said, "Go and pick up a book of the 12 two-part inventions." This one here. So I recognized that this was some serious advice he was giving me. So I went and got myself this edition right here, and I started to learn the first invention. And then one day, I was out the front of the restaurant, doing some stock with my boss, and Jason and his partner are walking by. And I was really excited to tell him that I got this book and I started to learn the first invention. And, he was really appreciative that I had actually seriously taken on board his advice. He said to me, "Well, hey, I've got this pool party next Sunday. You keen to come along?" And I was just like, "Sure, I'm not working." And I knew that this was a serious opportunity. So I went to this pool party. And honestly, I have not been to a house like this. Wow, it was the most idyllic house, most rich house I've ever been to. Not to mention that the party as well, like the other people at the party were they were very wealthy and they were a lot older than me. I was talking to this gentleman who had a house. He was like, "Oh, I have this house in London and I have this lovely house just down the road." And, I was just sitting there like, yeah, I'm struggling to afford my next keyboard. Anyway, Jason comes up to me and he says, "Josh, why don't you take my number and contact me one time you're free and come along. I'd love to see your playing and give you some advice and tips on that." This was like a moment straight out of a movie scene. I couldn't believe this. This was, wow. So a couple of days later I contacted him and I went back to his house, and he gave me a piano lesson. By the way, I didn't get classical piano training. I kind of went down my own path on the piano, so there's a lot of the classical stuff that I didn't really get from an early age. So I wanted to share here some of the things he taught me. So the first thing he taught me was finger weight. Before he told me this, I had no idea about finger weight, arm weight, and hand weight. But when he explained it to me, I really started to think that this was a really good thing to know. So we went through the first Hanon exercise, which goes something like this. You know, up the scale. He made me go through it several times, or actually a lot of times, but really putting an emphasis on the fingers, you know? If you're a classical pianist, you're probably laughing at me right now, but this was all new to me. And he said, go ahead and practice this stuff for 30 minutes or 40 minutes a day. Your playing will radically improve. So that's what I did. He wrote out different variations of this one Hanon exercise, you know. Stumbling. More practice. I need more practice. Now, what I'm finding with this finger weight emphasis is that, you know, I've been writing a lot of grooves lately. I'm trying to really develop my groovy, funky style. And what I'm finding is that these exercises open up this kind of lightness in the fingers. It allows me to be more jumpy and kind of express precisely what I want to express with my fingers. And I think that's a really valuable thing. The second thing that he taught me was, of course, Bach. He gave me Bach, and I've been practicing it ever since. And I'm actually going to make a whole video on why I started practicing Bach, because I think it's just invaluable. This is a gold mine. Honestly, it's... wow. I'll just leave it at that, and I'll leave it for the next video. The third thing he taught me was to focus on the melody, you know, and to think about lyrics behind the melody, even if there are lyrics. And he explained that it unlocks the character of the melody and really makes it just a more powerful melody that connects with the listener. So those are the three things that the second piano master that I found taught me, and I wanted to share those things here for anyone else who you know, might benefit from these things. So yeah, guys, that's the story of the hidden piano masters that I found. And the moral of this story is to get out there and be social. Oftentimes on the music journey, we get so narrow-minded in our focus in music. You know, we focus so much on music that sometimes the other things in our lives, you know, maybe go unnoticed or, you know, unappreciated. But I think it's really good to, you know, involve yourself out in the world, and because the thing you need at the moment for your musical journey, you might find it somewhere else entirely. You know, I found these piano masters by working in a cafe and in a restaurant, and by just engaging with these people, sharing my story, and, you know, they share their story, and together we can develop this relationship. And it's only because I was social and I engaged with these two gentlemen that I unlocked these opportunities to really learn from a master and develop my skills as a piano player. So that's what I'll leave you with in this video. Go out and talk to people, present your best self to the world, because you never know who you're gonna meet. It could be your next piano master. So guys, if you got value from this video, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. I'm really starting to you know, find my own voice on this platform, tell stories, make grooves, all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much. The journey has only just begun, and I'll see you in the next video.